little bit later. A few technical problems here at my end. Anyway, it's all good. Just thought I'd give you an update on what's going on with the channel, but also with other issues with the Harley Sport Glide and the Softail series as much as I can. Right, so in the background, I suppose, there's been quite a bit going on with the channel, first of all. So I've actually completed now a whole series of videos for up until the new year. So there is a minimum of 3 per week, which I've done, and they're the regular ones are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon UK time. There'll be information about the Sport Glide or the Softails, or sort of general chat about Harleys or motorcycling in general. So those are happening as we speak. But just so you know that there's going to be content. It's all planned out until the new year, absolutely, and then thereafter I'll build on from there. Yeah, it's been a really busy time. Obviously, we're trying to sort this out, and also trying to think of what's to come in the future and what else I can plan in the future. Now, also the other thing is that I've been planning this endurance ride on the Harley Sport Glide. So to give you a bit of a heads up, I did quite a bit of endurance riding before. I really enjoy it, but these mammoth ones I only tend to do periodically, because they do take quite a bit of lead up time, training time, and also it's about recovery time after. Sometimes you just don't want to see a bike, you know, for a few days afterwards. It's kind of one of those things. Anyway, so I've decided to, in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, I haven't really done them because I've went in more into adventure riding and things like that. So now I've sort of come back to road riding more, and hence why I thought, well, I decided to do it. I'm also doing it for charity, the Thames Valley Air Ambulance charity as well. So all the links in the description below if you want to donate for that, that'd be really good. And any support that you can give. So basically what I'm doing on this endurance ride, I'm riding all around Great Britain. That's England, Scotland and Wales. And I'm going to every single main Harley dealership in Great Britain. That's 29 of them. Then I'm going to go to the European headquarters, which is the 30th stop, and then I'm going to go back to my original starting point, if you like, which is Reading Harley Davidson. So that would be my 31st stop. So 31 stops in total to do the whole route. For me, however, the challenge of 29 dealerships, that is the main one, if you like. So I'm going to start off on the 20th of October, about 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, well, I'll see, but probably about between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be live, maybe not live, but doing sort of photos and quick sort of 10-second video type things on Instagram. That'll go to the website and feed out all to social media. I wanted to do it on YouTube. That's primarily, and this is I kind of announced this ride a long time ago. Those of you with the channel earlier on, I kind of announced it quite a while ago, about 3 months ago, maybe something like that. But I kind of realised that I needed to wait a little bit until I got up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that will enable me to do live streaming on the phone, because they took away that facility for channels under 1,000 subs. And I thought I might just creep up there in time, but it doesn't look as if I'm going to do it. So, and I was facing a window issue, weather window. So this is going to be the big... Hi Rob, nice to see you here. Yeah, sorry you're late. No, don't worry, I was a bit late as well, don't worry, so thanks for that. Anyway, so really I've kind of delayed this ride as much as I can before winter sets in. Now, it's not really winter here I'm more concerned about. It's actually going north England and into Scotland and riding all out through the night. So that's the big issue, and I need to have a little bit of stable weather. It's chancing it right now, actually, but the weather is going to play a big factor with this, so we'll have to see. how I do. So basically, I want to do the whole route, 29 dealerships all around Great Britain, in less than 48 hours. So I'm actually kind of aiming for 36 hours. I think it's more likely going to be 48, possibly even more than that. And again, it really depends what the weather is going to be like. So I'll say I'll start off on the 20th of October. Everything will go out through social media. I wanted to do it on YouTube. It won't happen now, I don't think. I'll be doing videos, trying to do bits of videos as I go along as well. That's going to be the real issue as well. Trying to document it as well as doing the endurance ride in the quickest time possible. So the video, when it comes out, my concern is about the quality of that video as well. So I mean, that's something I have to kind of factor in for. But you know, the ride itself is going to be lots of challenges, and what I'm doing right now, one of the reasons why I did all this work on the channel in the background, producing all these videos, that I know I've got those in the bank, is that I can sort of concentrate now on preparing for this ride and preparing for other rides which I'm going to be doing next year and also through the winter, but they'll be shorter ones. But anyway, so what I'm doing now, I'm prepping the bike and I'm prepping myself. And would you believe, yeah, I'm actually in a bit of training right now. Sort of a bit of sleep deprivation, which I'm training myself up for. Looking at different foods to sustain energy, but also give me a little perk up, but also not too much that, you know, you make you want to fall asleep. Because, you know, if you start you're having a heavy meal, all the blood goes to your stomach and goes away from your brain. That's why you feel tired after a big heavy meal. So it's this kind of thing, really. I've been looking at the types of clothing I'm going to be wearing all around. I've got a factor for the worst possible weather. So I've actually just got another rain suit in today. I do look like a big, you know, blob actually right now with the kind of mountains of layers that I've got beneath me. But I'm going to go with the layered approach and take it from there. Gloves has been another one. I've been sort of having major struggles with eBay, which you believe, getting electrical heated gloves. I thought they'd be sorted, but it hasn't been sorted. I was going to get another pair, but I've sort of decided to go old school and just go with sort of heavy duty winter gloves, liners as well. But also I put bar mitts on the handlebars now. The reason I've gone this route and not gone the heated glove route is, one, I'm going to be on and off the bike as well. So if I have a connected set, it's going to be a pain. Also with all the videoing I have to do as well. So that's one thing. The other thing, if I go for the battery gloves, heated gloves, they're not going to last long enough all the way around and won't be able to charge them up, as I say. So it's one of those things. Do I try and do this heated, have a bit of comfort, or do I just try and do the best I can and have a bit of discomfort, but not be reliant on any power for those gloves? So that's what I've decided to do. I'm going with that thing. So there is that element which I've been working on as well, and also looking at navigation, sat navs, things like that. I've ordered one that's coming, a sort of new one. I got an email today that I might not actually be able to deliver it before I start this ride. Would you believe? I don't know where it's coming from, the moon or somewhere. Luckily, I put out a plea out on social media the other day. And Dave, so thank you very much for Dave, one of the subscribers, and also follows me on Facebook. He actually offered his, so I've actually got his. Where did I put it? Here. There we go. And I'm actually just putting in all the waypoints right now on that. So thanks very much using his Garmin. That's going to be really good and really helpful for it. Rob, how much time at each dealership? Well, here's the interesting thing. No time at all. This is literally going to the dealership, the location, marking it, then off I go. This is not a hog ride. This is not a Harley sponsored ride or anything. This is pure endurance. This is pure go and to distance and time endurance, and also doing it in the shortest time possible if I can. Much of the issues I'm going to have anyway is that I'm going to be going to dealerships when they're closed. So in the middle of the night, and also on a Sunday. For the first day, it's a Sunday as well. So that's, most of those are going to be closed anyway. So I'm not going to be spending any time at the dealerships at all. I'll literally be going to their car park and sort of photo, quick update. If anybody's there, great. Sort of quick hello, and then I'm off again. It'll be that quick. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for that. Good luck, Alf. Thanks very much, Mark. I'm picking up the M8 Slim tomorrow. Yeah. You forced me to sell the Dyna and go for the Slim. Well, I'll tell you what. That is a lovely bike, I got to say. So I'm sure you'll be very happy with that. That's lovely. And there's not lovely. I was actually looking the other day. Some really nice mods for that Slim as well coming out. And I've seen there's a couple of companies in the States who are doing stuff specifically for the Slim as well. So that'd be. I'm sure you'll have lots of fun and games working on that in the future. So best of luck with that. Anyway, so that's what's been happening with the channel. Lots of videos come in, lots of steady stream. I've basically gone around the Sport Glide to dissect everything, break everything down into bite-sized chunks to explain it, not only for if you already know, but also as a reference for anybody, but people who don't know what these things are. And that's what I've done. A lot of this is generic to the whole Softail range as well. So, and actually a lot of it's Harley in general, or the M8 in general. So there's stuff. There's lots of sort of troubleshooting videos. There's a lot more videos actually of you guys actually sending in questions, emailing me with information as well. And I've been picking up on those and making videos based upon that. So this kind of asking questions and engagement from you guys is really good, because that's actually helping to generate videos and generate discussion points as well. So there's a lot more, and hopefully there'll be a lot more coming out as well of that. Not only, I suppose, we've got to face facts. In reality, there's only a life limit. There's only so many videos that I can make really of the Sport Glide. So obviously I'll be making more sort of general videos about Harleys, about Softails, but also about motorcycling in general. But there's also going to be another aspect of the Sport Glide as part of the story, if you know what I mean. It's where I'll be going on the Sport Glide. And I suppose this endurance ride is part of that Sport Glide Softail story, testing it to its limits, seeing what it can do, where it can go, all that kind of stuff. I'm Popper. Hello, how are you? Maybe I missed it if I was so. What brand do you use for base layer clothes to combat cold and wind? Well, I don't really use branded stuff at all, I've got to say. I just use multiple layers. Just a sort of long johns, thermal wear, that kind of thing. I'm not using long johns, but it's actually this Japanese material. It's made from Japan. I don't know why. It's just material, but it's quite thin. But it's a very thin thermal layer, and so that's top and bottom. I'll be using for that. And then on top of that, it's basically t-shirts, fleeces, that kind of thing. Then I've got a thick jacket and trousers, waterproof, Gore-Tex type thing. Then I've got the rain suit on top of that, and then I'm probably going to put another layer on top of that, another kind of rain suit, which I kind of use as, but that's a two-piece one. The idea is to try and stop any wind penetration coming in. Now, you might think I might be overdoing it, but the problem is you've got to think that you're actually on the bike constantly, and then you ride in 200 miles, 250 miles. Let's say if I can get that much tank out of the tank, I'm getting off the bike, filling up, and then going again. There isn't a lot of downtime, and you've got to factor for the worst case weather that I possibly can. My experience is that no matter what you wear, let's say if it's torrential rain, it will get in somewhere. It'll always get in. Also, with your feet that you're forward as well on the Sport Glide, any sort of heavy rain, that just kicks up, and it finds its way up your leg, doesn't it? I mean, I went out on the road the other day in torrential rain, and I was actually wet up to my knees, would you believe? I was wearing full waterproofs. So there we go. So I'm looking at different things, but lots of different multiple layers of clothing, of undergarments, clothing, and then obviously the jackets and so on and so forth. I've still got to think about my mobility as well. So that's why I'm going for lots of thin layered clothing items underneath, and then so on and so forth. Yeah, so all of these things I'm kind of really factoring for, really. Gloves, boots, waterproofing, warmth, trying to keep it as simple as possible, not trying to introduce too much technology onto the bike as well. That will drain, if I have to use the battery power. I don't want to just be draining power too much. I'm going to be running a sat nav off it. I'm going to have a spare one. If the other sat nav doesn't arrive, I'll just be using the one sat nav. I'll be using my phone as well, I suppose. I've got to cater for the camera equipment, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to carry the panniers. I'm going to have the panniers. They're going to be filled up with sort of the basic stuff, a little bit of road food, if you like, some liquids, that kind of thing. I'm sure I could buy it on the way, but anything I can do just to cut the time down, that'd be one thing. The other thing is I'll be taking some tools, obviously, some general stuff just to keep me rolling along. Oh, you're welcome, I'm Puppy, you're welcome. And all that kind of stuff. So on the other side, I've just got a couple of fuel cans now. So what I'm planning on doing is, let's say that I'm looking at the stops, and I'm saying how far can I ride, as opposed to every stop trying to get fuel, which is, so I'm going to try to achieve 4, but obviously that's just impractical, on a motorbike. But anyway, so that's the thing which I'm working on, and then I'm trying to also think about putting this information out there for you on the website, but also in videos. But I'm kind of thinking not only about the ride, but I'm thinking about, let's say, this documenting it whole thing, and how's the best way I'm going to do it. That's going to be probably another challenge in itself, and I'm hoping that I'll get enough footage that I can actually produce some videos for you, maybe just a one-off kind of mini documentary, not a documentary, but you know what I mean, a sort of how I've done the ride type thing, and then possibly some extra footage where I can sort of break it down into different parts, what things I was facing and all that kind of stuff. Because I'll say one of the biggest things that you find on these rides is not the distance is one thing, and the discomfort is another thing. That's and I've got a few sort of old school or old method ways of trying to keep myself extra dry in certain places and extra padded out in certain places as well, because I'm still on the stock bike, remember. But I've been looking at different ways to achieve certain things, and I've obviously been looking at new technology, and lots of people are saying try this, try that, and they're really good suggestions. But at the same time, I'm loath to try something or invest in something that I won't be able to use that much. So there's there's lots of stuff to document. There's lots of videos that I can make afterwards. I'm just hoping there's enough footage there that will be usable, and also, if it'll work out in terms of a documentary, but also mini videos to illustrate certain points. That's going to be a tough one. In many ways, it'd be better if I had like a support crew doing all the filming for me, but that's going to be impractical in this sense. What I'm planning to do also is, as well as this, I'm planning other endurance rides as well, but some of the longer ones will probably be for next year in the kind of spring, summer months, because those are going to be really challenging in terms of not distance so much, but more in terms of the weather and the road surface that really needs to be you know, spot on. Otherwise, it just won't happen. And also won't happen in the time frame which I've got, which is the kind of the important thing as well. So, but then there's during the winter, I'll be doing some short ones just to illustrate certain things that you can do as well. So, like, you know, 4 or 5 hour ride ones, or 6 or 7 hour rides, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm looking at different ways to not only test the bike, test the Sport Glide, but also look at testing different types of equipment as well. Now, as for Harley Davidson themselves, so none of the dealerships in particular I've actually contacted. However, I have contacted Harley Davidson European headquarters, which are based here in Oxford, not a million miles away from me here. They have sent out an email or communication or whatever to all the dealerships to let them know that I'm doing it. Now, you know what these things are like. You know, this probably come in over their emails and people go, oh yeah, so what, and just forget about it. So I'm not actually expecting any recognition from any of the dealerships, even if they're open, and I'm not expecting any recognition from Harley headquarters, European headquarters either, over it. I just think it'd be a really cool challenge to do, and I was thinking that there was another long distance challenge which I was going to do, but I thought actually doing this Harley dealership challenge would be in keeping with the channel as well. So I'm kind of trying to think for you guys as well on this. But it is a big one. This is a tough one. It's a tough one to predict. It's a tough one to document, and it's a tough one to prepare for as well. In many ways, you can prepare for the cold and the wet and everything. You can prepare for, you know, limitations on food or whatever, or slightly dehydrating yourself and all this kind of stuff. You can prepare for lack of sleep and all that kind of stuff to a certain degree, but you just can't. You can't prepare for those things that you just don't know are going to happen. So I'll give you a case in point. When I did my last one a couple of years ago, I did 1,457 miles in 24 hours. That's 24 hours constant riding. Well, apart from fuel breaks and things like that. And at the end of it, I was elated, but I was deflated as well, because I thought I could have done so many more miles. Because all the way through, I was just held up by traffic, contraflows on the main motorways, the main highways, and you know, the speed limit had been reduced down to about reduced by 30 miles or 20 or 30 miles for long stretches of road. And you know, big trucks, lorries were just doing, you know, another 10, 20 miles an hour less than that. Just couldn't get by them because they were just single tracks. So that's infuriating. That sort of plays on your mind a little bit. And yeah, so and I've got a feeling this might happen again here. So that's why, you know, you can't really prepare for the traffic, and also how the weather affects people when they're driving as well. Because we've got so much traffic in this country, so much the traffic density, any slight bit of change in weather, people start changing their driving habits as well. They either get really reckless or they get overly hesitant and overly cautious, and so even for a bike, it's actually quite difficult, you know, to combat that as well. So anyway, there's lots of things to consider. There's lots of planning that's going, lots of thinking that's going on at the moment. So I'm just actually plugging in the route into the sat nav right now. That'll be going, say, up. I'm going to be testing that and testing all the equipment out over the next week or so on rides, and I'm hoping in many ways for bad weather. Actually, I'm hoping to be riding in sort of torrential rain where I can test all this equipment out. I'm going to have to sort of duct tape a lot of things, you know, seal everything up, all the electrical connectors as well. So, you know, I'm hoping that it doesn't rain, of course, on the ride, I'm hoping it doesn't rain on the ride because it'd be easier to document. If it's raining on the ride, that's it. Video is going to be pretty much non-existent in terms of riding footage. It'll only be when I actually get to the dealership as well. So it's yeah. So it's. Thank you, Rob. Yeah, only 7. Oh, 8. 8 are watching now. Thank you very much. Oh, that's very nice. It's very nice of you to say that. But anyway, so it's one of those things. You've got to plan for the worst, but you really do hope that you don't get the worst weather. But you know, in planning, you know, I had an old saying for the work that I did, just that you plan for the worst and you just hope for the best, and that's what it is. Just got to plan for that worst. Anyway, so that's the endurance ride which I'm doing. I say I will try and produce a few more videos leading up to it and showing you the kind of equipment layout that I've got and what sort of slight modifications I've done to the bike, and everything. So also, as now going on a tangent, I've got to say a big thank you to quite a few people who've sent in emails about little fixes that they're doing on their bike, sort of little design flaws. So one of the things, I don't know if you know about the Softail Sport Glide, but this affects a few other Softails as well, is underseat. On the underseat, how caked in mud that it gets when you're riding along, and especially if you're riding wet and anything like that, and any time of dirt there is. So people have been trying to make their own sort of deflector, and basically on the rear mudguard, on the rear fender, there's about that much gap from the end of the fender to the behind the battery, if you like, that case in there. So all the road spray, all the crap just comes up over the electrical area and over the shock, over the monoshock. And so yeah, so we've had quite a few people email, so look, we've done this, made this up, and I've been looking at it as well myself, actually, for my own bike to do it. So I'll be bringing that to you. I'll probably be looking at those designs. I'm going to try and make a template to put onto the website as well, onto the sort of Harley Parlay page. So lots of, if you haven't looked on that page, I'm putting lots of extra info about Softails and about the Sport Glide. I've put the template on there for the panniers, you know, to protect the panniers on there as well. But that's also on the resources page. But I'll you know, if I do it, I'll put the template for this deflector on there as well. Basically, you just need to block that hole. That's what you need to do. Block the hole so nothing can come up. But funny enough, I was giving my bike a deep clean yesterday, and mine was just covered, absolutely covered in crap. So spray wash the whole lot. And I've just covered it completely now in ACF 50, so it looks absolutely crap because everything sticks to it. It's like gummy stuff, isn't it? So everything was sticking to it. Yesterday I went out on it a little bit, and we had flies all over the place. That was sticking to it. Today I had rain and wet roads, I should say. I didn't go out in the rain. I went out after the rain, so everything from the road was just sticking to it. Well, there you go. That's the way it is, isn't it? But yeah, so there's a couple of things people have been sending in. That's just really good. There's extra information, and lots of people asking me questions about things about the Softail. So I don't claim to be any kind of expert. Hopefully that they appreciate. I don't claim to be any expert in Harleys. As I say, I openly admit I'm new to them. You know, I never really cared for Harleys, but I do love these Softails, and I did like some of the Dynos before, of course, and then a few from the years ago. But in general, I wasn't a big fan. But I think what I decided to do was try and find out as much information and put out as much information about this bike and the Softails, and especially the Sport Glide, as much as possible. Hopefully that, you know, that is helping, and that's helping people out there to have a better understanding. A lot of it, I suppose, I'm taking information from my, you know, 40 odd years of riding, association with motorcycles, and sort of transferring that information to Harley riding or owning Harley or working on Harley mechanics wise. You know, they're all the same really, but it's just obviously different designers, different things to think of. But anyway, so hopefully, you know, as I'm learning, I'm sharing that information as well with you guys. But I think, as I said before, there's only going to be a certain amount of stuff that I can talk about the Sport Glide in particular. So this is one of the biggest challenges of coming up with new ideas, new content that hopefully that you'll still want to watch as well. Interestingly, I had an email the other day from a chap, and he was saying, "How do you get your?" I get emails as well about YouTubing, if you like. People say, "How do you do that? How do you do that?" It's how did you motor vlog this or whatever. So I'm always happy to share and let people know what I do and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, one of the questions was, how do you get all the ideas and how do you keep on producing all these videos on a daily basis? I think one of the things that I look at is say, well, I've got to be committed to it and I've got to try and keep on producing, and have a strong work ethic to, and I approach it like it's a job, like it's a business. It's not a job. It's not a business. I don't get any money from it or anything like that. But I approach it in that manner, and I think I tend to do that anytime I've done anything with motorcycling, whether it's the motorcycle magazines, the motorcycle safety campaign which I've ran, the kind of literature with magazines, books, whatever I've written, all that kind of stuff. It's just to go 100% on it, and then see what happens at the end of the day. So that's how I approach it. The other thing is that I tend to make videos. Certainly since I started to take YouTube a little bit more seriously, or that I wanted it to build into something when I was doing the adventure riding as well, that I really wanted to share what I learned and but also not only what I learned, but also what I knew, and also what knowledge I applied to whatever I was doing, but also about sharing experiences. And I always thought that the channel could be not about motorcycling, not about a particular bike, or Harleys or Softails or whatever, Kawasaki's, Triumphs, whatever. It will be about a person who just happens to ride a motorcycle, and this is what they do. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, really, in terms of I just want to share what I know, what I do, and hopefully you'll like that too as well. But there's as I say, there's lots of more information about the Softail coming out, or the Sport Glide coming out, but there's only so much I can do. So I am looking at trying different things. And as I say, to answer the question from the email, this is the challenge. The challenge is just to keep on producing, keep on finding ideas. And the ideas come from questions, really, my own questions about, well, why does that bike do that? Why does the Harley do that? Why doesn't it ride like that? Why isn't that equipment on here? Well, why have I heard this rumor about this particular fault? There isn't. Why is that tire on that bike better than this bike? All these kind of things. So I could, in many ways, be here for another 40 years, 50 years, just keep on asking questions. And I think reality is that's what we all do, don't we? We're constantly asking questions about our bikes, about all of them. So that's how I do it. I get a lot of time when I'm riding. That's I kind of, that's my sort of peace time. But it's funny. I was doing this TV interview the other day for this TV program that we're featuring in over here in the UK. And my bike's going to be featured, so it'd be really cool, right? I'm going to have the bike on that. That'd be excellent. I think it's coming out in November or December now. It was supposed to be January, but I think it was November, December. Anyway, it was cool to have the bike on there. It was cool to talk about the bike. I forgot what I was going to say, but it was just it was interesting to actually do the interview and them not focus on what they want to talk about. It's more focusing on what I want to talk about. And the bike is, it's obviously it's a big part of my life, and motorcycling's always been a big part of my life. So, you know, I'm always finding things to think about or discuss. So when I was doing this interview, I was trying to describe why I liked biking so much. Why I like, and this is what I remembered, or I wanted to point I wanted to make. Why I love biking so much, or why I love riding and all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in the whole, are you a biker, are you a motorcyclist stuff. It doesn't bother me. I don't care if you wear leather waistcoats, cuts, whatever, and you're all in motorcycle clubs. It doesn't bother me. All that sort of stuff. For me, is just kind of it's noise. It's window dressing. For me, it's always been about the bike. Me and the bike. Don't care about anything else. It's just the bike. Everything else is great. And I think I've made videos about this in the past, talking about this as well. That actually, I never got into biking for the social side of it. Actually, that came along. I didn't get into biking because I wanted to be part of a group or an association or whatever. That sort of came with it in certain quarters. It's always been about the biking and riding experience. Now, for some people, that riding experience is about the freedom and all that kind of stuff and the open road and everything, which is great, and I understand that, and I appreciate that as well. But for me, it's not even about that. It's actually just being at peace and connected with the environment and having the environment around me. That's what I like. That's what I like about it so much. Just being on this two-wheeled contraption that has taken me somewhere, and that I'm at peace with it, and I'm just kind of floating in and out of the environment, and that's what I was trying to put across to this TV program, and that's where, when I'm in that sort of state of mind, that's when I'm thinking about all these, all the videos which I was try and come up with anyway, because I'm constantly asking questions and constantly thinking, well, why is it doing that, and so on and so forth. Obviously, I'm doing research about the bike as well, and I'm constantly going through the manuals or the service manuals and all the literature that I get off Harley as well, like the service bulletins and all this kind of stuff. And I look at stuff related to other bikes in the Harley range. Obviously, the Sportsters, the Tourers, the CVOs, whatever. Obviously, predominantly Softails. But I think, okay, well, if that's there, that's happening there. Could it happen to the Softail? So that gets me thinking about certain things. So it's good. It's great that I'm getting questions sent to me, and I'm making videos based upon those questions, and I'm trying to find the answer to them as well, because I don't always know the answers, of course. But I'm also always thinking about new ideas and everything like that. And I'm also thinking about new ideas, as I say, to change it up a little bit, add a bit of diversity onto the videos as well. There's no doubt that in some of the videos I'm going to make a mistake, or I'm going to misread something or whatever. Classic one was the other day. I misread the rear tyre size on the Sport Glide. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't even realise that I'd said it, and I didn't even realise that I'd said it once I reviewed the video. It's only when one of you guys actually said, look, what size tyre you got? And I was like, oh, no, let me review that. Yeah, I got it completely wrong. Anyway, so I did correct myself in the video and in the comments section anyway. But look, so there are going to be mistakes made, there's no doubt, but also try and give you that information. I'm going to keep on trying to give you that information as best I can. So, keep coming with the questions, please, on the emails and in the comments as well. Obviously, the more this grows, obviously it's going to be harder for me to answer every question, whatever, but or every comment as well. But I do read every single one of them, no doubt, and I'm constantly trying to think about, okay, will this make another video as well? So that's really good. Oh, thank you, Gavin. Yeah, looking. Hello, the video. Oh, looking forward to the Mars. I'll have to upload an update of mine. Oh, right. Yeah, great. Thanks. Oh, thanks very much, Gavin. Yeah, I look forward to that as well. I think, I think what I like about this phase of this channel now is more of more people that I'm emailing, you know, and commenting with and discussing you guys as well. I think that's really good, and I think it sort of touched on something that maybe this sort of the Softail group, but you know, the Sport Glide group needed something a little bit more, and hopefully, you know, it's getting out, and I'm hopefully improving, you know, every minute really, or every day by it as well. So there's lots more videos coming, lots more information. Obviously, the website is building up as well. I say I'll start with that Harley page. I do have other ideas for the website as well, and with a podcast as well. I've got another podcast coming out tomorrow. I think it is, yeah, tomorrow. That's already uploaded on SoundCloud, Spotify, and iTunes. So if you want to listen to it in the car, you can already do that now. What I want to try and do is do like a weekly podcast, like a weekly radio show type thing, and talk about things. And I'll do it over YouTube as well, but obviously go over the podcast outlets. I haven't quite got there yet with it because I've been so focused. We'll see how that goes. There's lots of scope here to not only meet up with you guys or anybody actually physically, but also do online sort of interactions as well. And we talk about, you know, Softails and whatever. I still want to meet up with more sort of Sport Glide riders and Softail riders as well, and sort of compare and contrast bikes with my stock bike and theirs, and you know, almost have like a rider's story or Sport Glide rider's story, you know, and anybody can. Yeah, I know this is quite daunting for quite a few people, isn't it? Coming on videos and stuff. And do you know what? It's something that I was never really comfortable with. You know, I only started really doing videos properly a couple of years ago, maybe, something like that. I did them for a while, but I wasn't very confident at all. But it's something you just work on and you improve on. You know, you try and get better at, more comfortable with. I know for some people that don't want to do it, so try and make it as low key as possible for some people. But anyway, right. So that's it really. Now, one bit of news about the Softails and the Sport Glide. Okay, so I made a video a couple of days ago about oil migration. Now, this is an interesting one because there's a bit of confusion here. Within certain quarters about the migration that's happening, and it's mainly affecting the Tourers. Some are saying it's only affecting the Tourers and it's not affecting any Softails whatsoever. Other people and this is kind of conflicting with what I've actually heard myself, because I've heard it actually is affecting Softails as well. Or some, but nowhere near in the numbers. Now, it might be affecting them for different reasons. Okay, so it might be because the Tourers have the whole clutch issue and the clay ball, and then the hydraulic clutch and all that sort of stuff. So it could be. It could be an issue like that. Funnily enough, I went into I spoke to the local dealership here the other day asking them about it, and I said in the video as well, they'd not heard of any case of a Softail having this oil migration issue. But there have been oiling issues with oil level issues, transmission oil level issues, and primary oil level issues with Softails. Now, I've forgotten who it was. Somebody actually sent in an email, not an email, a comment on one of the videos, and they actually highlighted an issue. And so actually, a lot of this, not in all cases, of course, but a lot of this could be down to how they're taking the oil level readings in the first place. Are they standing the bike upright, or are they having it on its side stand? So that's an interesting one, because actually they could have been just overfilling the primary in the first case, and underfilling the transmission in the first place as well. It could be. We know for a fact there was a bit of residual behaviour from a lot of technicians and from a lot of mechanics that maybe started working on M8 engines and obviously the transmissions and everything like that on these new bikes, but they weren't necessarily maybe trained, or no, that's probably an injustice to them. They probably weren't up to speed with all the little particularities of the M8 engine. There's been quite a bit of rubbish by so-called experts, if you like, said about the Milwaukee 8 engines and the obviously the new bikes. Especially within the first year, there was so much misinformation out there, and there's no doubt that when you get a brand new engine, it doesn't matter if it's a motorcycle, car, a boat, plane, whatever, there will always be problems with it. There will always be problems with it because it has to be field tested. It has to go through miles. It has to, be ridden by many hands, as it were. There's been lots of misinformation about the M8. There's lots of information about the oil levels and migration levels, all that kind of stuff. So just watch this space for the Softail. I've heard, let's say, people have already emailed me, said they've already had the work done, and the fix, which is this primary vent, they've had it done. I wasn't sure where it went. If it went on transmission casing or actually, and they called it a primary vent, or it actually went on the primary casing. Now, I went into the dealership today because I saw there was a vent tube coming out my transmission housing on the top, but it didn't have a rubber tube onto it. It was just an open vent. So I thought, well, first of all, am I missing a rubber tube? And also I thought, well, is this the primary vent that they've put in that has been put in on all the Taurus now since last 2019, the start of this year, I think. Anyway, so it turns out it's a transmission vent, not the primary vent. I don't think the guy was 100 au fait with it either, to be honest with you. So that could be it. I still think that actually it needed a longer tube in it. Although it's a vent, you sure we know oil's going to come out of it. I'm still not. If it's a vent, it's a vent. Basically, that means it's tube that comes out. So it'll either go straight down, or it depends on the bike that you've got. So on some of the Taurus or whatever, it either goes straight down or it go cocked off to the side. Have a look if there's any oil residue there. So if you see any oil residue, it's probably coming out of that vent. If it shouldn't, then there should be an issue. So they're saying this oil migration is down to a pressurization within the transmission and within the primary housing as well. It's affecting the seal, apparently. Don't know. Anyway, so watch out for that. Federico, hello. I rode my Harley MT350. Oh, don't talk to me about MT350. I'm really thinking about getting one. We got a different one in the UK. It's an Armstrong 500, British equivalent, basically. But it's exactly the same bike, essentially. But it looks the same, whatever. One's a British Armstrong, the other one's the Harley 350. Use winter gloves without cables and without iron batteries. I use them 4 or 5 hours in position 2. Oh, okay. I also use textile. Yeah, so a lot of the gloves that I've found, they are 4 or 5 hours. These, well, obviously, if you're thinking I'm going to be riding 36, 48 hours constantly, that's my issue with them. I need something that's going to last longer, or going to be charging on the bike. I don't want to charge them on the bike because I want to use the power from the bike to power everything. So I've got quite a bit to power. You see that's the other thing I need to consider. But anyway, thanks for that. So the other thing is I've got a couple more videos coming out this week, in particular, from recent comments about particular issues that riders have had. So watch out for that. And I've tried to answer them as best as I can. I've tried to research them as best as I can. That's quite interesting. But there's another comment that's come out recently, and quite a few people have emailed me on this particular point as well, is once you do an upgrade, a stage upgrade, or any modification on your bike, on your engine in particular, let's say, or on your transmission, are you affecting the reliability of the bike? Will it impact on the engineering tolerance of that bike? So I suppose it depends on the work that you do, of course, doesn't it? So that's interesting. That's going to be an interesting one to play with and have a look at and see how much engineering tolerance there is and what is the likelihood of you having a problem down the road after a few thousand miles, after you've done a stage 1, 2, 3 or 4, whatever. So that'd be an interesting one to think about. Or, if you have a completely stock bike, is it going to be more reliable, whatever? The reality is this, in a simple way to explain, or not explain it, but the simple way to divide this discussion will be, if you have Harley approved parts, modifications, let's say, that would have been tested and factored for by Harley, and that would have been factored for by their tolerance or what they're allowed to produce, in terms of emissions and all that kind of stuff. However, if you've got an external company who's making modifications for that bike, I'm sure they test it. They go through all the testing and they go through all the product development and all that kind of stuff, and they know what engine it is and all the specs and everything like that. But for me, you're still using an external manufacturer of a component that's going to enhance your bike. It may work fantastically, but who knows? I don't know about the reliability of that in the future. It's always the case. If you're going to modify your bike or your car or whatever it is, at some point you are going to impact on its reliability, and especially if you don't really know what you're doing, you're just guessing at something, you're using parts that were not really designed or not approved for that vehicle, at some point you are going to impact on it and it will start to break down. It never ceases to amaze me that we as bikers, as riders, motorcyclists, whatever, we do love to think that we know a lot more than the actual manufacturer sometimes, don't we? Yeah, if we do that, we'll improve it, and we'll do that, we'll increase your horsepower and do that. Well, I don't know about you, but I never went to MIT to design all these bikes, engines and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know the mathematics behind it, the physics behind it a lot of the time. So I'm sure these guys do. So I think sometimes, whilst we think we know what is the best option for our bikes or to improve our bikes, the reality is a lot of us are just stabbing in the dark, or we're just hoping that it will work. Most of the time it does. A lot of the time it doesn't. Sometimes, we as riders, as the public, we come up with much better ideas for a bike. Case in point, we're talking about that gap in the rear fender on the Softails that's covering all the electrical or the rear shock in just crud, which you're going to have to keep on washing off, especially if you don't want it rusting over there over the winter, all that kind of stuff. That's something that we, within the public, the riding public, are going to have to come up with a solution. Or we already have come up with a solution, I should say, the generic we, not me, but there are solutions out there already. And I wouldn't be surprised if they either mod the bike afterwards in future ones, or they actually offer this as an accessory that you can buy for your bike. They call it like a fender skirt or something like that. I don't know, whatever. I've gone all HD mods, Gavin. Yeah, I've gone all HD mods so far, apart from Vance and Hines shots, but running out of things along my vision, so I'll have to change to aftermarket soon. Right. Along my vision. Are you sorry, is that Vision tuner, or using FP3 tuner with that one as well? The interesting things actually about the the Softails haven't really got that many mods. And we talked about this before, and certainly with the Sport Glide, there aren't that many mods that you can do. Actually, in terms of Harley parts, or Screaming Eagle parts, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of engine performance modifications, there aren't that many really at all. Now, a lot of that is to do with regulation, emissions, all that kind of stuff, both in the United States and also over here in Europe and around the world. It depends wherever you are. But that's an interesting one, because I was having the chat with the parts guys a couple of weeks ago actually about the exhausts, and I wasn't really caring about the different types of exhausts. I just wanted to know which ones were approved and which ones are approved for Europe. The reason why I was asking is because I'm planning another couple of endurance rides into Europe. And one of the things is that if you're riding with anything that's non-standard, and depending on if the police catch you, you can be facing very serious fines, thousands, £1,000 over, a couple of $1,000, whatever, in fines. These are roadside fines here. So it's, pretty serious stuff. So whilst, we'd all like to modify our bikes and put different sorts of exhausts on, there's only actually one or two exhausts that are actually road legal and are EC approved, and they have the emissions, approved with the emissions and noise and all that sort of stuff, to be able to ride your Harley over there. Otherwise, you're going to get pulled over. Interestingly, there was a news report came out this very week in the police in the south of the country here in the UK. They've actually been pulling over motorcycles, and they've been measuring their noise level with a decibel meter. Now, here's the thing with we have an annual roadworthiness check in the UK called the MOT, and basically on there isn't a sound level requirement. So that's why Harleys can have big a noisy exhaust, right? But what they'll say is on this, as a recommendation, is say your exhausts are very loud, whatever. Now, new bikes, all new motorcycles have to have a maximum decibel rating, and I don't know what it is. I think it's about 77 decibels. It could be 82. I can't remember exactly. So if any of you know, please let me know as well. But interestingly, police have been pulling over bikes, and they've been, saying, with a decibel meter. Now, what wasn't clear in the report is whether they were actually producing fines based upon those excessive noise levels, or whether were they producing fines based upon other things that were affecting the bike. No doubt they will attract certain types of police will be targeting certain types of riders, and if they think they're really noisy exhaust, they'll say, okay, well, he's got really noisy exhaust, what else on his bike isn't standard or isn't legal? Let's go and check it out. But, I don't know, registration plates, lights, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So there's interesting stuff there, and I'll be following that story quite closely in terms of. I don't think they're really going to start, approaching Harley Davidson riders, whatever yet. But I think if you're young, whatever, if you're riding a scooter, definitely, and it sounds really noisy. If you're riding a race bike and it sounds excessively noisy, they already go to bike cafes, bike meeting places. They mingle around and they'll say that's illegal, So they don't really endear themselves to the biking community a lot of the times, that's for sure. But at the same time, they're only upholding the law. You can't really blame them for doing their job. Whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant. They're doing their job, and that's a whole other discussion, isn't it? Okay, sorry, Gavin. Yeah, I was rabbiting on there. Didn't even talk. Yeah, Gavin, you got the power vision right, but I meant my vision of how the vision of how your bike should look. Right, gotcha. The parts of the sport are particularly limited. They are very limited. They are coming out with new parts. This is Harley, and they will be coming out. I'm not sure if it's November or actually the start of the year, but they are coming out, so I've been led to believe. But there are also other companies out there that are actually starting to produce more more parts, more accessories, more aesthetic things. I haven't really come across many that are producing engine performance stuff though. It's more it's more, yeah, the aesthetic side of it. So more of those companies are starting to produce it. I think there's been a bit of a lag on the whole sport glide thing. There has been this whole debate whether they're going to continue to produce them in the future. I think there are. I mean, you know, I just spent some time in Florida, and I spoke to a few dealerships, two dealerships, and the guys in there, the sales parts guys as well, and they're saying no, actually, this for them, their particular dealerships, they said that the Sport Glide is the best selling Softail that they had. They're not selling as many as they are the Tourers, of course, but the ones that they're selling the Softails, and a lot of those are the Sport Glides. And no sooner as they come in, they go out again. They're sold. So people are, wising up to that, definitely. For example, get black rear indicating housings in the UK, bloody too right. Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the big annoyances for me. And I was speaking to a fella yesterday with his street bob. I was just admiring his black indicator bullets. I actually like the bullets, the standard bullet size indicator. I like them. I don't really care for the dinky little ones, the aftermarket ones that you can get. I don't mind having bulb indicators, but it would be nice to have LED ones. I must admit. But I would much prefer if they were black. I wish they were black. I don't know why they're not black. They just have them black. But I remember saying the same thing when the Dyna Street Bob first came out. I said, why isn't this black? You should have this black, that black, but you've got too many chrome accents for something that you're trying to advertise as a black bike. Then I think, did they change them afterwards? I think they did, didn't they? After about 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years of the Street Bob, then they started doing that. Anyway, yeah, but you're right. I've already looked into this, Gavin, about the black rear indicator housing. There's you can get them now. They are, I think it's going to be in the region of about £300 or £400, €500, wherever, depending on where you are, to get a rear set and front set of the bullet size put on with the labour and everything like that. So I think if you're going to do that, you might as well wait until you're having other work done to it as well, so you can kind of combine, work hours as much as possible, unless you're doing it yourself, of course. But yeah, there's if you look in the Harley parts catalogue, there are a couple of kits there, one for the front, one for the rear, that you can get, and it is for the Sport Glide as well. There's definitely one, but I can't remember the prices. I think one is 130 or 230 pounds, something like that, for the rear set, and the other. But also you got the problem. You got to buy specific tail lights, indicators, but they've got the stop and brake lights, tail lights already built in, haven't they? So that's what makes it a little bit more expensive. Anyway, right. So that's it. So there is a bit more options for the Sport Glide coming out. There was this debate whether they're going to get rid of them. Of the different people that I've spoken to, who are not necessarily experts either, they're saying actually for now, no, it's all good. Whether it will continue, who knows? Whether the long-term plan isn't for the Sport Glide, I don't know. So there has been a bit of movement left and right of owners, shifting bikes, shifting tastes, all that kind of stuff. But those are come down to personal thing. I don't think that's going to affect actual numbers, or numbers. Sales are down though. Latest I heard as well. I'm just waiting for new data to come through of the sales, and I don't know if you've heard, but they're predicting third quarter sales of Harley to go rock bottom. Now you kind of expect that a downturn this time of year because you're moving into winter months, certainly into winter months. So that's in itself is not, but they're saying it's going to be the struggling. So I was reporting earlier in the year saying Harley actually the forecast for the company is looking quite good. Market analysts and stock brokers were saying, yeah, this is all good. But actually now they're saying, yeah, we're not too sure about Harley, which way they're going. It's live wire. There's been a bit of a, lots of people saying, yeah, it's very nice, but who's going to buy it? Only a Gordon Gekko type stockbroker is going to buy one of those. Let's face it. Hey Mike, how are you? Yes, I'm with a fellow who has a Ducati Monster. Ha, that's a nice bike. Now we both know this saying of Harleys ain't reliable is a myth from days gone by. Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, of course it is. I think machines are reliable or unreliable. It really depends. I think all new bikes are very reliable. As I say, but there's always going to be, with any new technology, as I say, there's always going to be teething problems. Let's say there's always going to be failures of something. Harley did have, with these new M8 engines, they did have machining issues and tolerance issues when they on the first few batches. Let's say that seems to have, certainly from 2018, 2019, many of the horror stories that you've heard with the videos, and there's loads of them, isn't there? The M8 engine is rubbish, all this kind of stuff. A lot of that has been addressed actually now. But you know what it's like in internet land. These things live on forever, don't they? It's rare, but in this instance, I believe my fellow rider has the opinion that my bike is more reliable than his. Well, it is a Ducati. I mean, I'm of Italian heritage as well, but I've got a thing about staying away from Italian bikes. I know. Apart from Moto Guzzis, which I love. I don't want anybody to say anything about Moto Guzzis because I think they're really nice bikes. But Ducatis are nice. But I just. Oh, now what was it? Many years ago, I was. Had I ridden one yet? No, I hadn't ridden one yet. And a friend of mine met up, with riding, and then his friend came along on a Ducati, and I can't remember what. Now, is it the clutch engagement or the gear changing? But I thought the rear wheel was going to come off. I actually thought this thing was going to snap in two. The horrible sound, and then he left it in idle. It was just a horrible sound. But anyway, there we go. So that But Ducatis, look, Ducati have the same thing as well, reliability issues. But then again, they say that about all Italian vehicles. If you're a car guy, then they will say, well, you've got to drive it. You've got to once in your life own Alfa Romeo, but it'll always be broken down. It's one of those things. But I loved Alfa Romeo. So I love the Alfa Spider, one of my favourite cars of all time. Okay, but anyway, yeah, it's rare. For instance, yeah, hey, you want your R9? Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice bike. That's a good bike as well, actually. I do like that. You've got a good little stable there, Mike. I must say. Yeah, nice little stable of bikes there. Yeah, one to be envious of. Yeah, you know that. Right, good. Gavin, just finished your 1,500 mile, 6-country, 4-day trip in Europe and no problems, pure enjoyment, apart from the rain. Yeah. Look, I really value the sport guide, I've got to say. As I say, and that's why I feel quite confident in doing this endurance ride on here and putting it through its paces, because I think actually it's not just a bike to ride, it's actually a bike to push, to push it to its limits. And maybe many people outside the Harley world, let's say myself included, would not have had the confidence to do that with Harleys before. But now, and every day I'm getting more confident with it. And you've seen the videos which I've made going through horrible weather, and I've talked about riding through horrible weather. And if a bike can do that and just come out with it, come out the other end, no problems at all, then it gets a big thumbs up from me. Regardless of how I might feel about it, as soon as it starts letting me down in certain areas, like any bike would, then the shine starts to come off it. Do you know what I mean? But with the Sport Glide now, it's been absolutely brilliant. I've got to say, brilliant. So Kevin, I'm hardly surprised you did those miles, and lovely. Yeah, that sounds like a great trip. Fantastic. Yeah, you told him to get his own. Yeah, yeah, Salvo Ducati. Yeah, but so Ducati make a really good the adventure bike, the Multistrada, and they make another one a little bit smaller. I forgot what it's called now. I forgot what it was. Um, there's something, not Des the Stratos. Anyway, whatever it is. The problem is they're really expensive bikes. But are you going to really take a $17,000 or $20,000 bike off road? Do it off road, no matter how capable it is. Not many people are. So people are buying those Ducati off-roader Ducatis, but they're not really using them, to the benefit. Since we're talking in turn, ever ride a Leveda? Do you know what? No, I haven't. I wish I had, though. I wish I had. A Leverda. Yeah, no, unfortunately not. Hearing more final drive bout chatter as you get more ones. No, I'm not actually. No, absolutely quiet as you like on mine. Nothing at all. But it is out there. Definitely. Other bikes. Riders have had this. But I haven't had it at all since that first 1,000-mile service came in. Bike's been, to date, as I say, I haven't had any issues with the bike at all. I've got to say, been absolutely fun. What I will say is this: what I have noticed the last couple of days, and I don't know, and maybe this is a video for the future as well, because I'm undecided whether it's actually me or whether it's the actual bike yet. But the clutch, there's a bit of clutch. It's almost like it's a bit soft to engage. There isn't that kind of snap sometimes, which you think. When I first got it, it seemed to be a bit harder, and the bite seemed to be. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like the cable's stretched a little bit. You remember in the older bikes, you'd have to kind of adjust it every now and again because you'd have cable stretch. It feels a little bit like that, So it's not anything drastic, but I'm sort of feeling it. Gavin, yeah, I'm going to go as well. But thanks very much for tuning in, and thanks very much. I will do. Thank you, Mike. My 32,000-mile Roking was a bit noisy, continuing to sing from the bout traded. Yeah. I wonder if this is just across all Harleys. The reports I've heard, it has across all Harleys. It is about alignment. It is about tensioning, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But yeah, no clutch man. Yeah, I'll say. I mean, it's not a fault. I haven't found a fault in my clutch. There's no issues in its operation. It just feels as if it's a little bit looser. So it'll be interesting. I'll be interested because I'll be doing this ride, and then I'll be pretty much up to 5,000 miles on it already. So I'm sure I'll, and that's something I'll see about them possibly looking to adjust. And where I'm really noticing it is in lots of clutch engagement if I'm riding in traffic or in a built-up area in town as well. On the open road, I'm not feeling it at all. But anyway, right. Anyway, so that's it, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. I think we've done about an hour now, haven't we? Something like that. Maybe a little. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Whatever it is, over an hour. Cool. I need some. Need to drink something. Right. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in. So lots more videos coming, as you know, all the way until New Year. You're going to get a minimum of 3, but I'm still going to try and do daily videos as best I can. More information about the endurance ride and how the Sport Glider is going to be coping and modded for that bike, so for that ride. Lots more stuff coming after that as well. I'm going to be trying to do updates as I go around on the ride. If I get to 1,000 subscribers before, then I'm going to try and do it on YouTube as well. I'd rather do it on YouTube actually than on social media, but if any of you follow me on social media, you'll know that most of it is just generated by the website, or I do a quick Instagram post, but it goes to the website and it's distributed out. I'm not the best at social media, I've got to say, and I openly admit it. I'm a little bit naff. I'd rather do this YouTube anyway. Right, but anyway, thank you. Hi Ken, thanks very much. Hey Ken, thanks very much for those bit of insight you had on the ride that you did around Britain as well. So I think yeah, that's good information there. Thanks very much. And Met Leather Bootlegs. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks very much. Right, I'm off. I need to go. But loads more stuff coming. Keep sending me messages, comments, whatever. As I say, I do look at them. But if you want to definitely ask me a question, or you've heard about something and you think, oh, this might be good to, get everybody talking about, email me. That's probably the best thing, because if I'm working on the computer, whether I'm not on YouTube or not, it'll just come straight and it'll flash up and I can answer it straight away, or start looking into it straight away. Right, anyway, cheers all. I'm going to go right now. I've got to turn this off now. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Bye.